It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain Team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Bittle.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a horribly titled show, the latest with the Razorbacks. I just couldn't think of anything because we've got so much going on right now with Razorback football, basketball, baseball, of course, with them sweeping Alabama. So, yeah, I didn't nail down a very specific title, but we're going to discuss all of that. We're going to have Connor Goodson on. We're going to have Kevin Bohannon on, talk about all the latest going on with Razorback sports. All that and more on today's episode of HawgSports Live. The Crain Automotive Team knows stretching your dollar is important. With prices at the pump, interest rates, and everything else, we focus on making your life more affordable by offering vehicles with the highest rated fuel economy and safety features, plus a large selection of crossover and hybrid vehicles. We make it easy to get on the road with a vehicle that won't break the bank. We have a vehicle for every lifestyle and every budget. Come get one at one of our 17 statewide locations or visit crainteam.com today. HawgSports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive Team.
You've done it. Now you're the Crain Cash Champ. You just won big with the Crain Team. Go ahead, soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? You dominated with our low price guarantee, and you got way more for your trade. Plus, with statewide delivery on thousands of vehicles from 16 locations, and the fact that we'll beat any other dealer's price, we make our Kansans feel like champions every day. That's winning. That's the Crain Team. Visit crainteam.com.
We're going to have Kevin Bohannon come in here first, so we'll talk to him about what went on with baseball, get him for about 10 minutes, then we'll hop over to Connor Goodson. First, this is going to mean a lot to Rory McIlroy, but congratulations on winning your second Masters, second consecutive, only the fourth player to do that. It's a fun Masters if you enjoy golf like I do. Really entertaining all the way down, watching Scotty Scheffler surge and Hatton and Rose had the lead for a while. I thought it was a really even young, although his swing kind of throws me off. I do try to do that as a practice swing, just the pause drill, but he does it in real life. But it was an entertaining Masters, and cool to see Rory McIlroy win it. I'm not like a big Rory guy, but it was cool to see him win. Arkansas picking up a lot of commitments lately. They are up to 3 offensive line commitments, 4 total. Zacharias Huzzy was a very recent one at cornerback. They've had Bradley start event. Shout out Sheridan Yellow Jackets. They recently got one from Odafe Oruru, who's a 4-star recruit out of Jenks, Oklahoma. And then most recently out of Rogers, picking up Henry Frazier, another offensive lineman, 6'4", 290. So 3 offensive linemen already on board for the Hogs, which is a good thing when you consider like maybe how you should put a team together if you're Arkansas in this portal era. Building an offensive line from the high school ranks makes a lot of sense versus, like a lot of other positions. Like I'm not even so sure that like quarterbacks out of high school make a whole lot of sense anymore. But anyway, it's good to build, I think, through the high school ranks in that vein. So Arkansas spring football wrapping up their, second scrimmage of spring. They ran about 90 plays. We'll talk a little bit more about some of that stuff. Like I said, we're going to have Kevin on first because he got some things he's got to get taken care of. Jaylen Brown is no longer with the Razorback football team, as we know that he was arrested on Friday for allegedly hindering the apprehension or prosecution. And according to Best of Arkansas Sports, Monday morning, he allegedly lied to Farmington police over an incident that occurred in his home involving 3 females, 2 who allegedly broke into Brown's home and jumped the one that was dog sitting. I'm not sure what all that entailed, but I was informed from a source close to the situation that Brown is no longer with the football team. Of course, he was involved in an arrest at Florida State that he was dismissed from that team last spring. It was a possession charge, possession of a controlled substance, but those charges were later dropped. He originally signed with LSU. He was a top 100 prospect in the class of 2023. So, and then, of course, we know he had that pretty gruesome leg injury against Notre Dame last year, September 27th. And, fast forward to now, and not part of the program anymore. So disappointing news with that. Malik Thomas has entered the NBA draft. This is all stuff that's developing Monday. And it is maintaining his eligibility for college, which we expected to happen, kind of like Carter Knox did last year. Test the waters, go through the process. It's good experience, even if you don't enter the NBA draft. From what I've heard, if he's a first-round pick, most likely gone. The same has been said for Billy Richmond as well. But if he's a second-round pick, then you're talking more like, less guarantees, and you could get locked into the league minimum, about $1.7 million. Versus coming back next year, supposed to be a weaker draft. You could move up higher in the draft with, obviously improvement and all that kind of stuff. But Malik Thomas has entered the draft. We're going to talk to Connor Goodson here in just a moment. But first, let's go to Kevin Bohannon because he's got to get out of here. So Kevin joins us on the Ozarks Go hotline. If you don't subscribe to Ozarks Go, you should really consider it because it's fast, reliable, consistent internet service. 479-684-4900 or go to ozarksgo.net/hog, HAWG. Several different tiers of internet service. It's become famous right now. I say I have never unplugged and replugged my router. Somebody suggested, Kevin, that maybe it's time for me to get a new router because it's been at least 5 years since I've touched it and the technology's improved. How's it going, Cabo?
Hey, doing good. It's always good when the Razorbacks sweep, especially on the road at Bama. And that was big because if you go back to Friday, before the game, this team was not in a good place. So winning cures all ailments. That's what I wrote, on Saturday. And the team it looks like they're trending in the right direction. They're one of the top teams in the SEC as far as trending upward, and it's good to be going that direction.
Yeah, Alabama was ranked number 8 nationally. I mean, you go from just a streak where, it wasn't long ago at the end of March, they lost, 5 in a row?
Yeah, they were 2-7 at one point.
And now they've won 4 in a row, and they've got UAB in North Little Rock at Dickey-Stevens Park. But a 7-0 win over Little Rock on Tuesday, 7-5 over Alabama in Game 1, 15-6 in Game 2, and 3-2 on Sunday in Game 3. So good to see them taking care of Bama. Now they've got, after UAPB, they've got number 5 Georgia coming up, and that's in Fayetteville coming up this weekend.
Yeah, Georgia's one of the best offensive teams in the country and in, not just the conference, but the country. So, Wes Johnson's always going to have a team that comes in here and plays gritty. They won the Joey Volchko sweepstakes, the big transfer starting pitcher out of the portal last summer. So there will be a lot of familiarity when those teams take battle on Thursday this week. Going back to Alabama.
Yeah, let's go back to Alabama, just kind of beyond the numbers here. How did they pull this off?
You could really see them. It's one of the first times I've seen them make in-game adjustments like they have. That was the biggest thing. TJ Pompey was named SEC Player of the Week. He had multiple hits in all 3 games this past week. He was, of course, 3 for 4, had the 2 home runs, the dagger on Saturday night, the 3-run home run. And those type of things just have not been happening for the team. They finally, and once somebody gets going and the guys are all talking to each other, they came together as a team. That was one of the biggest things I saw, and it spilled over into the pitching staff as well. The pitching staff was phenomenal on Sunday. Gabe Gackle bared down. They were able to get outs in certain situations, like Justin LeBron has a double after Brady Neal gets a single. You got runners on second, third, and 7th inning, no outs. Gabe Gackle, he bared down. He got the 3 outs that he needed, and that put up a goose egg on the board. That's what they've needed. Gabe Gackle rides off that confidence. The team picks up on it. The hitters pick off on it. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about both sides putting pressure on each other. Well, the pitching staff's going to walk, and they're going to give up runs, so we got to be perfect and hit. Pitching staff says, well, they're not going to score very many runs, so we got to be perfect, and we got to be fine, and we got to dot the corner and dot the I's every time. Now it's going that other direction. You see them feeding off of each other, and that's what you have when you have a winning baseball team.
Kevin, what do you think about the rotation moving forward? And who is the third starter?
Yeah, I really think that Hunter Dietz and Cole Gibbler will have solidified themselves. That they've shown enough, especially Dietz. And that was Gibbler's first start. For his first start, I think he did a really good job. A couple mistakes, but that's going to happen. And he's just now learning how to start. He's learning how to start in the SEC. So for his first time out, I give him a solid B+. For that third spot, I wouldn't mind throwing Tate McGuire out there, because when you get to a game 3 in the SEC on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, you're going to have to throw 4 or 5 guys. They have guys like Gabe Gackle, Colin Fisher, and Ethan McElvain that are veterans out of the bullpen now. So, and Parker Cole. Parker Cole is the piece that doesn't get talked about enough right here. A lot of our fans have said, well, why doesn't he start? Well, he hasn't started in 4 years, and they can rely on him to go twice in a weekend. Those three pitchers I just talked about out of the bullpen went twice this past weekend. That's something you need, especially on a game 3 that could decide a series. So if you have that, Tate McGuire has pitched well in starts this year. Last week against Little Rock, his first start of the year on that Monday in Arlington. So he's proven that he can do it. Has he been as consistent? No, but not many people on the team have this year. So I think they could stick with this same rotation moving ahead to Georgia.
Kevin Bohannon joining us. You can follow him at Cabo Baseball Guru on X and read all of his content at HawgSports. Provides obviously the majority of the baseball content there, and also helps us with football. Has some good knowledge with that as well. So, do you expect this team to stabilize moving forward? We can expect more ups and downs, or what are you seeing in your crystal ball, Cabo?
That's the great question, and I can't predict the future, but I do think that moving forward, Dave Van Horn has figured out the temperature and the pulse of the team, what kind of identity they're going to have moving forward. You know, they scored 15 runs the other night and only hit 1 home run. They beat Alabama at their own game this past weekend. They were still in bags. They put pressure on the team. They only struck out, and I don't have my numbers in front of me, so forgive me if I say the wrong number, but they only struck out 21 or 22 times this weekend. So that's average of 7 a game versus 11 or 12 like it was earlier in the season. In Saturday's game, up until the last inning, they had only struck out 4 times. Rutenbar and Helfrich struck out the last inning, so that was only 6 strikeouts in that game. If you put pressure on a team that doesn't play good defense like Alabama, good things can happen to you. That can happen the rest of the season if they go out and do it. So play good, consistent baseball, and it's, opportunistic baseball. Hit and run when you need to. Steal a bag when you need to. Ryder Helfrich got in scoring position because the first baseman, Andrew Purdy, dropped the ball on a pickoff move. That put him in scoring position. Camden Kojal hits a double. Next thing you know, they're up 3-2. That's the type of team they're going to be moving forward. They can win baseball games that way.
All right, Cabo. Well, we really appreciate you. I know you got to move on, but appreciate you hopping on and keeping us updated with everything Razorback baseball.
All right. Thanks a lot, Trey.
All right, Cabo. All right, everybody. That's Kevin Bohannon. Follow him at Cabo Baseball Guru on X. And also, I'd like to tell you that you guys know how much I value long-standing relationships. Well, I've known Bo Bittle for 25 years, and when I needed car insurance, when I needed homeowners insurance, when I needed business insurance for HawgSports, I called Bittle Armstrong Insurance. Bo, Rob Armstrong, and their team have over 100 years combined experience. They work with you just like auto owners insurance works with them. Expect local support from somebody you know. Questions about your policy? Call Bittle Armstrong direct rather than a 1-800 number. Auto owners insurance intended it that way, so you don't have to wait on hold forever. Don't settle for a generic policy wherever you are in Northwest Arkansas. Give Bittle Armstrong a call at 479-443-0808 or visit ba-ins.com. Auto Owners Insurance owns an AM Best A+ superior rating. They trust people like Bo to work for you. Bittle Armstrong Insurance. Coverage you need, people you trust. Good folks. Okay. All right. We're going to go to Connor Goodson. Connor has some interesting news that's not totally unexpected with Malik Thomas declaring for the NBA draft but maintaining his eligibility. Connor, how's it going?
Can't complain. The numbness from my face finally wore off.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you had
a filling on me
filling fixed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you get that done pretty cheap though. Your wife's a dentist.
Yeah. Yeah. We get a nice little hometown discount. I'm hoping some of these portal prospects will take a hometown discount for Cal and the Hogs, because the board, if you saw this morning, the board that I posted, it's looking a little bare after a weekend of not a ton of movement there for Arkansas, and then obviously we get the news for Malik Thomas going to the draft while maintaining his eligibility. So, it's interesting how things are playing out right now for the Hogs.
Yeah, I think there some of the things, little whispers here and there, while we may not have a lot of serious names, Connor, some of the things that I've kind of heard is that there could be some big stuff happening this week. And I don't know, what are you hearing right now?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously this weekend there was a lot of talk about, Cal was obviously out there with Darius Acuff at his Wooden Award ceremony, and then he went up to Portland for the Nike Summit. And so there was some talk. People were saying that there was going to be a visit. I'd heard that there was going to be a visit as well on Sunday. Then it turned into maybe being 2 visitors. Nothing happened on Sunday as we were kind of waiting to see if something would leak out. So it was a very quiet weekend as guys like Santos Cyril and Isaiah Johnson, who were connected with Arkansas, they ended up committing to Johnson to Texas and then Cyril to Miami, which we kind of expected there. But, I felt some frustration with people and fans that I talked to. They were getting a little annoyed that it was taking so long, but that's kind of how Cal works. He doesn't want anything out in public. And while it looks like on the surface that there is nothing going on, believe me, there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And Arkansas was definitely jockeying and talking to people and very, very active talking to prospects and agents and things like that and trying to set up visits with certain guys. And I think that we'll see that come to fruition this week. And it kind of started today with Mustafa Cham, the big man from Cincinnati, who Arkansas played against in the exhibition earlier this season. It looks like Arkansas is rumored to be involved with him. He's a name that I'm going to add to the big board here shortly after I get off here. But Arkansas is really looking at him, and then I think that we could see some things materialize. The picture is going to get a lot clearer with some of these top prospects that Arkansas is after, and then I'm hearing that there's going to be a second wave of some names enter into this portal that Arkansas will probably also be very interested to get involved with, for sure.
Connor Goodson joining us. You can follow him at Connor Goodson on X and read his content at HawgSports, HAWGsports.com. What about my man from High Point? What's his name?
Rob Martin.
Guard. Yeah, Rob Martin. Yeah. He hit the portal today.
Yeah, I just saw that news come across here that he's entering the portal. And man, after watching him against Arkansas and carving up that D and going bucket for bucket with Darius Acuff, I'm kind of asking the question, man, is he going to be able to coexist with Jordan Smith Jr. in that backcourt? Maybe Arkansas takes a flyer on him. Mm-hmm. They have an opening with DJ Wagner now in the portal. They have some opening there in the backcourt. Definitely someone I would keep my mind or my eye on. If you remember, Calipari kind of has a checklist he likes to go through with certain guys in the portal. He likes them to have high major experience. He likes them to have played against him and done really well against him the previous season, it feels like. And he likes guys that are just really, really good at what they do. And Rob Martin's a guy who's really, really good at scoring the basketball and being that kind of facilitator and running things. So I could definitely see Arkansas maybe taking a look and getting involved there. But I don't doubt that he's going to have a pretty lengthy interest list once he does kind of get some clarity on his situation for sure.
How do you feel like things are going to play out with this transfer portal? Like, what do you think is going to be the next thing to drop?
I definitely think that the next big piece of news is that we'll see Arkansas with one of these guys that they're targeted with, I think, or that they're targeting. I think we'll see them get guys on campus, because part of that checklist also for Cal in the portal has always been, he obviously has the initial conversation, maybe a Zoom meeting, something, but he wants to get guys on campus, and he wants to get guys on campus so he can, roll out the red carpet. We've talked about that VIP experience here before. He wants to get them on campus and kind of give them the pitch and really apply pressure to see if he can't get a commitment there on the spot before they leave. And then if not, then he gives them some time. But his hit rate when he gets guys on campus is really, really good. So he likes to get them on campus. And so I think that's the next step you're going to see with some of these guys Arkansas's rumored to have interest with, that they're going to try to get them on campus and start scheduling visits. And then hopefully, they get some visits here the next couple of days. They're able to close the door before the weekend comes. And then hopefully before the portal closes, we get a little bit clearer picture of where things stand.
What's going on with Malik Ewing? I mean, was that just last week, or it feels like it was longer than that, I guess, that expect something.
This last week has felt like a month.
Right. But it's like expect something soon. Kind of was the vibe that we got, And I'd heard that, to expect him to move along, but
Mm-hmm.
Been a while now.
That sounds like a guy who maybe went a little bit rogue and did something that the coaching staff maybe wasn't expecting in a way. And they maybe had a conversation, be like, hey, let's actually talk about this and wait to make any rash decision. And I've been told that his waiver has been submitted, and now they're just waiting to hear back on that. And he hasn't heard anything. I did see a couple of people get decisions on waivers, some mid-major guys. I think one of them was actually High Point's Cameron Fletcher got a decision in his. So we could see some decision there sooner rather than later. But I've been told that the staff has kind of come around that they would welcome him back, and maybe he's entertaining that. But the big hurdle here is that he's got to get the waiver first. Like you got to get that, and then you can kind of reevaluate your options. But I think that maybe he was ready to pull the plug and say that he was going to enter the portal, or maybe say that he was going to move on, and they kind of maybe someone talked him out of doing that until he got the waiver and pump the brakes on his announcement. So
yeah, that's what I was under the impression of as well from people telling me that. Any insight on where we're going with assistant basketball coach?
No, that's a good question. So the Mustafa Cham, the guy from Cincinnati that I talked to, a lot of rumors and speculation said that he was going to go where he has a close relationship with one of the assistants, and so Cincinnati hired that assistant as part of the package deal with Cham last year, and so that there was some thought that maybe wherever he goes, that coach is going to have to bring his pal along as an assistant or support staff member. So Arkansas does have an opening. That's something to definitely keep an eye on. I don't see Cal maybe doing that. I think my gut
promote within.
Yeah, that's my gut is that they're probably just going to promote from within. Tyler Eulis is a name that really steps out. He does a lot behind the scenes, and I think and Cal's really high on him as being an assistant in this business, and so I think that might be a logical next step. But my gut,
or Ronnie Brewer,
Ronnie Brewer, he's got experience on the bench too as an assistant with Musselman and stuff. So that's another option. Maybe Bruiser Flint or Kevin Buddy, maybe one of those guys you might take a chance on them if the other two maybe aren't ready or don't want it. But I definitely think that my gut's telling me that it's going to be a promotion within more than an outside hire at this point.
I think that makes the most sense. Connor, anything else to add?
Not really, man. Just excited to dive into some more prospects, maybe fill that board back up and really dive in, and hopefully we get some clarity. And y'all follow along at HawgSports. That portal thread, man, it's 130 something pages now, and we haven't even gotten an official visit yet. So y'all get over there to the Razor's Edge and follow along. It's a fun time over there for sure. Yeah.
All right, Connor. Appreciate you, bud.
Thanks, Trey.
All right, everybody. That's Connor Goodson. Follow him at Connor Goodson on X and read all of his content at HawgSports, and follow along as he helps paint the picture of the Razorback basketball roster building process. Okay. We're going to get to some football stuff. I'd like to tell you about our friends over at Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, proud to be the official jeweler of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Ben Blakeman and his team had an exciting year in their new flagship space at 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway in Rogers, and are continuing their signature hospitality and service in 2026. Visit them, and they'll offer to clean your jewelry, offer you a coffee beverage from Cafe B, or a glass of their own, or maybe both. Maybe you get some coffee and some Blakeman's Prosecco, which, by the way, is offered at various stores in Northwest Arkansas. If you can't make it, do you know you can also shop them online at BlakemansFineJewelry.com? It's time to start thinking about Mother's Day if you haven't already, so be sure to visit our friends at Blakeman's. Not just jewelry, they also have homeware, all kinds of gifts like that too. Built on tradition since 1987, Blakeman's been Northwest Arkansas's trusted destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. My mother-in-law, she always calls it jewelry. Get some jewelry. Get you some jewelry. Okay, let's pop over to some scrimmage talk. Okay, so this last scrimmage, a little more balanced than what we saw in the first scrimmage. The first scrimmage, there were no touchdowns. Now, there were some people that said, I think he got in on the 1 yard line. There's a couple of instances like that. But they pretty much, just spot the ball at the 25-yard line and say, okay, go play. Now, that's what they did throughout the first scrimmage. The second scrimmage, they actually started in a third down situational deal. They ran about 90, 95 plays or so. But after that, it was just put the ball at 25 and go play. They did finish things up with a situational 2-minute situation. I'm not sure what the situational 2-minute situation, these are technical terms here. I'm not sure what the scenario was. They'll do like, you're down by 6 or you're down by 2 or there's a 151 left on the clock and you have one timeout. Those kind of different scenarios just to make it more realistic and simulated as well as possible. So here's some of the big plays. A.J. Hill to Maddox Lassiter for 43 yards. Hill to Jamari Hawkins for 24. Hill to Courtney Crutchfield for a 16-yard touchdown. This was during the 2-minute stuff at the end. And Hill to C.J. Brown for 15 yards. Based on the receivers that I just mentioned, it feels like Hill got most of his action with the second team. K.J. Jackson, 30-yard pass to Ismail Cece. 11-yard pass to Ismail Cece. 12-yard pass to C.J. Brown, 19-yard touchdown pass to Chris Marshall. This was at the end of a long 75-yard drive. 32-yard pass to Chris Marshall. Most of the guys that I just mentioned there, for the most part, have been working with the first team. So I would assume that KJ got most of his first team work. We will have practice access Saturday, but there's not a full scale scrimmage. I'm not sure if they'll do some scrimmaging. They can't have a full scale scrimmage because they've already done 2 and they get one more with the red-white game, which is April 25th at 2 o'clock in Razorback Stadium. Braden Fuller with a 12-yard pass to Blair Irvin, a 24-yard pass to Jasper Parker, and a 28-yard pass to Antonio Jordan. Not a lot of explosive runs. Jasper Parker, the Michigan transfer, had a 23-yard run. Cam Settles had a 2-yard touchdown run, a 12-yard run, and Sutton Smith had a 12-yard run. So that's 3 touchdowns right there that I've mentioned. Now, that's not an excessive amount because we're talking about 90, 95 plays. I'm not sure how many of those were the third team, but most of these were, I guess, probably first and second team touchdowns. DJ Hairston had a pick 6. I don't know if you guys know a lot about DJ, but he's a younger cornerback. He's been getting a lot of second-team action. Ian Williams, the freshman transfer from Memphis, who plays safety, also had an interception. Carlin Jones had a sack. Caleb Bell had 2 TFLs. Trajan Odom, Bradley Shaw, Danny Beal, and Steven Souls Jr. each had TFLs. Max Gilbert was good from 34, 42, and 53 yards, and Brady McAllister was good from 30 and 34 and missed from 46 and 53. Charlie Vondermeeden was good from 46 and 52 and missed from 42. So we talked to Ismail Cece and Bradley Shaw after practice. So we'll be back out there. They didn't have any press conference today. This is the first Monday since they've been back they didn't have a press conference, but no press conference today. They'll be back out there 4:15 for tomorrow's practice. And maybe we can get in some details a little bit about. I want to look at my depth chart / order of appearance. So I just kind of want to go over like where I think things stand. I've been fiddling with this. You guys need one of these? Psych. It's a T. My wife got me these. My wife got me these from, for those listening, it looks like a pack of Camel cigarettes, but it holds golf tees. Isn't that neat? I mean, it's totally impractical for golf, but it's funny. Especially when you pair it with this. These are also golf tees. Little ones. Which I really don't ever use, but I've been fiddling with it. So, football, order of appearance here. So, I still think it's KJ Jackson's job to lose. I think that just from what I've seen as far as throwing the ball, I don't want to reiterate too much on what I've seen, but I just feel like he puts the ball in the right spot. Now, that doesn't always mean when the lights come on that he's going to be the guy. Matt Jones wasn't always a great practice player. Great in-game player, not always a great practice player. So maybe there's a situation like that here. I just feel like sometimes on the shorter stuff, Hill can be a little bit inaccurate. And there's going to be a lot of shorter stuff in this based on what I've seen so far. There's going to be a lot of screens. There's going to be a lot of RPO. So I think that KJ Jackson will end up being the starting quarterback. At running back, I think it's going to be Braylon Russell and Sutton Smith as your primary guys. But, guys, I have not seen, I've barely seen any live tackling. I saw a little bit the other day. But until I see these guys go up against live tackle situations, I'm just not going to have a good enough opinion. I can just go off what I've seen from Braylon Russell, what I remember from Sutton Smith and his time at Memphis. Jasper Parker is the big mystery guy for me. Wide receiver is a little bit more clear. I think that we're shaping up to a point where Chris Marshall probably going to be a guy that they really look for big plays. I think that you're going to see – I'm not just going to go over how it's been going out there, okay? I think you're going to see Chris Marshall, Courtney Crutchfield, and Ismail Cece, I think will end up being the starting 3 wide receivers, along with a good dose of C.J. Brown in there, Jamari Hawkins, Antonio Jordan, and the freshman DeQuane Prevost. That's kind of how I see things playing out with wide receiver. Chris Marshall, Courtney Crutchfield. I know. He's looked good. Now, he has generally been with the second team pretty much throughout spring. It's been Chris Marshall, and then when the second group comes in, Courtney Crutchfield, the third group comes in, Antonio Jordan, all kind of at that same spot. But I think when it all shakes out, we might see Courtney Crutchfield on the field starting. Chris Marshall, Courtney Crutchfield, Ismail Cece. Kind of how I see it playing out. Maybe put Ismail Cece in the slot. But I don't know that he's necessarily been working the slot a whole lot, but he can. I know he can do that. Tight end, Jaden Platt, your starter there. We've seen a lot of Ty Lockwood. We've seen a good bit of Maddox Lassiter. They're going to need a couple of tight ends, obviously. I think the offensive line is not only the starting offensive line, but aside from maybe left tackle, the backup offensive line, I think is pretty well determined right now. Kavian Broussard at left tackle, Bryant Williams at right tackle, Kobe Branham at right guard, Malachi Breland at left guard, and the center, Caden Kittler. And then I think when you're talking about backup, you got, I don't know, maybe that's a good question. Who is your swing tackle? Is it Adam Hawks? Is it Terrence Robertson? Is it Josiah Clemens? Some good competition there. On the interior, which I heard one of the offensive line coaches say they were a little deeper on the interior, so that was a little bit surprising. It's nothing against Davion Weatherspoon. It's hard for me to see 6 foot 302 out there in the SEC playing a major role. But there's a 5'11" guy in the NFL playing offensive line. I don't think he's a starter or anything. He's kind of a journeyman, but he's in the NFL. Cash Courtney is your backup center. I think Cash probably ends up being your swing interior guy, center, guard, whenever you need an extra person in there. You've also got Brooks Edmondson. So defensive line, I think, has also really taken shape. I think it's pretty much David Oakey every day at the nose. It's pretty much Hunter Osborne every day at defensive tackle, and, of course, Quincy Rhodes every day at defensive end. That has been very consistent. So has Carlin Jones as the next nose in, Zadavian Sims as the next end in, and Trajan Odom as the next defensive tackle in. Very consistent. Third team's got a little bit more mix-up. You do see sometimes, rotating in because you rotate defensive linemen. You see Danny Beal, Anthony Kennedy, those guys coming in. I thought it was cool the other day. Who was it that said Osborne could get basically the whole front lined up? Who was it that said that? I can't remember, but not just the whole front, the entire defense, the linebackers, the secondary, 4-dimensional defensive lineman who knows his position, he knows everybody on the line's position, and he knows everybody on the defense's position and what they're supposed to do. So if you've got a guy like that, then it makes it easier to put Danny Beal in there, who maybe doesn't know everything he's supposed to be doing because he's just a true freshman. The jack spot, I think, has been very wide open. You've had Jamonte Waller, Charlie Collins, Steven Souls, Trent Sellers has got a little bit of action there. I feel like lately I have seen more Jamonte Waller. This is the Auburn transfer. I feel like I've seen him a little bit more often going with the first team. But to me, that spot is pretty wide open between those three players. Linebackers been pretty consistent, Bradley Shaw and Jaquavian Smith. Jaquavian Smith might be the surprise guy. I mean, I know he was recruited by Auburn out of the transfer portal, but coming from Howard, I don't know that a lot of people had watch out for this guy, But Bradley Shaw, Jaquavian Smith have pretty much been the top guys there. We've seen a lot of Jeremy Evans and Ben Bogle. Have not seen Phoenix Jackson out there, but I think we will see a lot of him when the season gets going. And then, of course, Wyatt Simmons is probably your third linebacker right now. Safety, I think, is up for grabs. I think it'll end up being Christian Harrison and probably Carter Stoutmire, although we have seen Carter Stoutmire also work some at Star. But I think it's going to be Stoutmire and Christian Harrison, possibly Miguel Mitchell in there also. Kier McGlure, I'm not even sure if that's how you say. Tell me how to say his first name. Kyeaure. There's a lot of vowels in there. I mean, there's 2 consonants in that. But we've seen him quite a bit out there, getting some first team work. Tay Lockett has gotten a lot of good action out there, not necessarily with the first team, but he's gotten a lot of good action. But I think it'll be Mitchell, some combination of Stoutmire, Mitchell, and Harrison at safety. Star, Kamori House has definitely started to emerge there. They've also got Tyler Scott. We've seen Christian Harrison work some Star. We've seen Carter Stoutmire work some Star. But I think they feel good about House. I think Jaheim Johnson is starting to solidify himself. And then Lakai Rowland maybe to a lesser extent, but also kind of starting to solidify himself. We've also seen a good bit of Shelton Lewis among those starting cornerbacks. So it's kind of how I see things playing out right now. A little bit of what I've seen, a little bit of what my opinion is so far. Okay. We're going to get to your questions now. Bet Saracen is Arkansas's #1 sports betting app, by the way. If you haven't signed up at Bet Saracen, you can sign up for $25. I mean, you can sign up for free, but if you sign up and you do a $25 bet on your first bet and you enter the promo code BIDDY250, that's capital B, lowercase IDDY 250, when you make that bet, you'll get $250 back in bonuses that you can use to bet at Bet Saracen. So pretty sweet deal for signing up at Bet Saracen. And Arkansas's #1 sports betting app.
Arkansas's Fab Five for Bet Saracen.
Hey, Joe, what do you think was the best shot in Arkansas basketball history?
Was it U.S.'s half-court shot versus the national champions in the big dance? Or maybe it was Scotty's shot in '94 to win it all.
That's a jump ball for me. I'm not even going there.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, me too.
Bet where most Arkansans bet.
Bet where we bet.
Bet Saracen.
Bet Saracen. Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Hogwild97 says, Trey, what's been your initial impression of Bryant Williams? I think as a pass blocker, he's done a fine enough job. I mean, I haven't seen any big issues, and probably offensive line and defensive line as far as pass protection goes, able to tell the most, just have not seen a lot of the run blocking side of things. But I think he moves well. He's got good size. I think there's a reason that he was as highly coveted as he was. Are they going to be as good as last year's tackles? I don't know. Might be a wash. I don't know. Will he be Hardigan? Yes. Would you win the Masters if you started every hole on the green at the farthest point from the hole? Would I win the Masters if I started on the green from the farthest point? I mean, am I going there cold? Or do I have a caddy with me? If I get a caddy with me, I might win the Masters. I would have to have some. No, I don't know. Let's see. Let me think. So I'm starting from the farthest point. So I've got some 3 putts in there. But, yeah, I'm winning the Masters. Am I wrong on that? I know the greens are tough. It's not like my first time. But I've 3 and 4 putts, some par 3s. I mean, yeah, I think I'm going to win the Masters. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if you think you could win the Masters. Trey, what is separating KJ from AJ for QB1? Also, how do you feel about the O-line? Been hearing D-line has definitely been the better group so far. So I think that one of the things that's going to separate is just an overall bit of experience. He gets the ball out quicker, and I think he's been more accurate just from what I've seen, especially on the shorter stuff. Now, if it's just like, hey, there's a deep ball coming, yeah, AJ can sling it. But the shorter stuff, I've seen a real difference in those two quarterbacks, and the consistency of the spiral, which I think it matters. I mean, it matters to the wide receiver on how you catch the ball. Like you don't want a wobbly spiral coming at you all the time. So I think that's probably it. I just think a little bit more experience and better throwing mechanics for KJ, and not just like just throwing, but feet, all those kinds of things. AJ sometimes kind of gets a little too wide in his stance, and I've mentioned how he kind of drops the ball down too low and stuff. So, but like as far as just like if he has to like drop back and throw it, there was a thing the other day that concerned me a little bit too, because like Courtney Crutchfield is running free, and whoever was covering him, they were in some type of zone, but whatever was supposed to happen over the top didn't, and Courtney Crutchfield is streaking open. And I'm standing over there, like I'm right by it. It's happening right. Courtney's running right past me. And I'm looking over at AJ, and AJ sees him, and he's kind of rolled left a little bit, and he sees him, but he doesn't throw it. He comes back and turns around and goes back the other way. And I was just wondering, and Crutchfield was frustrated, and one of the coaches was like, hey, don't show your frustration. But he saw him, and I just don't understand why he didn't throw the ball. So that's kind of stuck in my head a little bit, and that's been actually maybe a week and a half ago, and I still kind of think about that. So, you also asked about the offensive line. How do I feel about the offensive line? I do feel like the defense is overall as a unit ahead of the offense, which is what's supposed to happen. Now, there are some plays the offense makes, obviously, but the defensive line to me, and I've felt like this since during the recruiting process, like, man, they're getting a lot of guys. They're getting a lot of guys that are really well regarded. Guys that were real well regarded as recruits, guys that maybe play a little bit or play a decent amount, like Hunter Osborne did at their previous stops. And then when I saw him, like, it's a lot of good looking. Like this guy's the right size. It's like 163, 315-pound guy after another. It's like one after another. Plus you got Quincy Rhodes and some of those guys. So who's 6'6", 276, something like that. So yeah, I feel like the defensive line is maybe a little bit better than the offensive line. Yeah. So to answer your question, see if we got any comments here. Who's the next potential prospect to commit? Why are we talking golf? It's an Arkansas show. We can talk golf. We can talk movies. We can't talk golf. Razor Ramon says, Trey, you look like a good golfer. I'm an okay. I'm okay, but that's just because I play. Trey, I'm a 12 handicap. Just played a few rounds at Ocean Springs this weekend. Nice. Can you pull some strings and get us around to the Blessings? I'll play for you around if you win. I would like to people tell me all the time, like, hey, I'll take you to the Blessings, and it never happens. So doesn't seem fair. Doesn't seem right. But you and I would probably play pretty well together if you're a 12 handicap. Grant Tanyan. Why are we talking? Oh, yeah. Why you already said that. Brown is off the team, acted like a dumbass, and got the axe, says Master Ready. Yeah, he's no longer with the team. Razor Ramon says, I pray our secondary's improved. It can only do so. I've been guilty of saying, hey, they've got nowhere to go but up, and they prove me wrong. They'll prove me wrong when I say something like that. But I do feel like they have better talent in the secondary than they had last year. Last year they went after guys that, had some playing experience and stuff, but it also felt like guys that were kind of just like, okay, go find you another spot. Now, that wasn't so much the case with Julian Neal. Julian Neal was actually well, Julian ended up getting an NFL Combine invite and ran a 4.50, which isn't exceptional, but he's a pretty big guy. And he was probably their best guy, but he kind of fell in their lap because he went to Stanford, and then they had that coaching change, and then he enters the portal again, and Arkansas picks him up. So they kind of got lucky getting him in there. But, for the other guys, like, there just wasn't – I don't know. And maybe that wasn't the case with Jordan Young and stuff, but, like, the Arkansas Pro Day rolls around, and there's some really slow times. Joker Johnson, really coveted guy out of the transfer portal. Lakai Rowland started for Maryland, and wasn't a guy that's like, you didn't get the impression like he's a guy that they like said, okay, you go find somewhere else. There were a lot of other schools that wanted him. So was Braden Lee, who came out of Maryland. Shelton Lewis, who came out of Clemson, was a regular for them. He didn't start, but he played a lot. He had starts under his belt, but he played a lot of football. Getting was it Trey Scott? Tyler Scott? I guess I should know if his name's Trey Scott. I believe it's Trey. Tyler. It's not Trey. Tyler Scott. Tyler Scott was a really highly regarded guy who went to Auburn coming out of high school and didn't work out and spent a year at Georgia State. Now he's at Arkansas. So I especially feel that at cornerback, like they got some players, I think, at cornerback, some quality. Now they're not going to be, immune to giving up plays, but are they going to make some plays also? So I think and they seem to really like DJ Hairston also, in addition to some of those guys that I just mentioned. Safety, a little less blown away with, I guess. I know that they missed on some guys that they targeted, but, and they took some flyers on some guys. So we'll see how that shakes out at that group. But I do think personnel-wise overall, it's a better group. Razor Ramon says Bradley Shaw will possibly be all SEC. Reminds me of Scooter Harris. We'll take another Scooter Harris. Who's going to help Quincy on the defensive line? I think I covered that. Does the offensive line look good? Offensive line has, again, to me, as far as pass protection, they seem like they have done a good job. It's just I have not seen enough of them run blocking yet. I think we covered Jaylen Brown. Richard Baker says, I have jury duty. I have had jury duty. I had jury duty like 2 years ago, I guess, but they never called me. I think it was for like some juvenile type of something, but they never called me, except for I did get that scam phone call. Like there's a scam going around where they'll call you, and I don't know if they knew I was on jury duty, but I just also happened to be on jury duty, and they say like, hey, there's a warrant out for you. You can pay this now, or you're going to have to. We can't guarantee that you won't be thrown in jail, basically. So they're like, okay, can I call you back? No. If you hang up the phone, then there's nothing we can do for you. It's basically what they'll say. So I end up calling the cops on my wife's phone, and I have the scammer and the cops talking to each other, and they're literally the guys like, the cops like, if you're here, then come step out in the hallway. And he goes, okay, here I am. Where are you? And then he starts acting like the cop is lying, and finally the guy fesses up that he's a scammer, and he says, I'm really good at this, and I'm going to get a lot more people. That's what he said. But I literally had the scammer and the police talking to each other. Razor Ramon says, I got AJ Hill winning the starting job. What's your opinion, Trey? I think I covered that one too. I think it'll end up being KJ. Why are you Razor Ramon? Razor Ramon. And I'll have you saying no mas in no time. Mustafa is 10 times better than Santo. Okay. Wupig Sui. All right. Ewan said that on April Fool's Day. Do we still do April Fool's Day? You know what? I was going to do April Fool's Day, but I changed my mind because I didn't want something to happen. But I I was going to post on X as a millionaire living my best life, cryptocurrency, like all that stuff you see when somebody's account gets hacked. But I started thinking like, oh man, people might report my account as being hacked and then I'll lose access to my account. But that was going to be my April Fool's joke this year. Okay. So Razorback Pride says, why would Silverfield offer a 0-star? I'm big on in-state recruiting, but don't have to get just anyone from Arkansas. So this kid's just not ranked. There's a difference between not being ranked yet, he's a 2027, and being a 0-star. So, like, used to be, most of the kids, like when Houston Nutt was here, most of the kids from inside the state would be 0-stars, so they'd be unranked until, Arkansas put him on everybody's radar. So he's not a 0-star. He's just not ranked yet. Trey, do you agree with the decision to kick Jalen Brown off the team? I don't know the details that led to that, so I can't really say, but obviously there had to be something notable. He was kicked off the team at Florida State because he had that possession charge, and that was later dropped, but they still, kicked him off the team. DVA's raising out of the coffin like the Undertaker. Okay, some funny comments. All right, everybody. I feel pretty good about today's show, even though we had a terrible question or a terrible title. Titles are difficult. It's one of the arts of journalism, but I was just like, the baseball team, like I could write a catchy headline like, Jalen Brown kicked off Razorback football team, but then and you're kind of supposed to do that with headlines. You're supposed to just like pick something and because you want it to be catchy. The important thing is that you provide good content with it. You want, people say stuff like something's like clickbaity and stuff. Like anybody doing clickbait stuff has no idea what they're doing, because you really hurt yourself if like people are clicking something and they're not satisfied with where they land, because of a clickbaity headline. And eventually they just stop clicking your content, and it doesn't do you any good. That's like been proven. But for headlines on our show, we do want them to be snazzy, catch your attention. But I didn't know what to do, so I made a generic crappy headline. All right, everybody, appreciate you for joining me. Go check out our friends at Back Nine Golf in Fayetteville. Go to the back9golf.com and check them out. 4 hitting bays, full swing simulators, which is the best in the business, located in Fayetteville, Arkansas. The only one in Arkansas, but it's right over there where like Green Acres kind of forks off, right by Ash on College there. But it's a really cool facility. BYOB also. All right, everybody. Appreciate you joining me. This has been Trey Bitty with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you Thursday.